So first I want to explain what privilege is because it has been so politicized over the years that the definition of it has been skewed. It does not mean that everything in your life is perfect because you have a certain privilege. It just means that you were born with or obtained certain traits that may put you at an advantage over others that may not have those traits. It's not a bad thing, and you should never feel shame for having those traits because they are a part of who you are. But it is important to recognize that it exists. For example, I'm Puerto Rican, but I happen to have blue eyes and light skin. I know that these things that I had absolutely no control over gave me advantages that some of my relatives may not have had, simply because they are of a darker complexion. I've never been followed around a store, but some of my relatives have been. I have never been pulled over randomly in a suburb for no reason, but some of my relatives have been. I've never been yelled at and told to go back to my country, but some of my relatives have been. It's the same with being thin, or what people would call normal, or a normal weight. There are opportunities that people who are obese will never have access to, even if they may be the better choice. The lack of privileges can come from a multitude of things, such as skin color, disability, age, socioeconomic status, and of course, looks. I would like to thank you for coming to my channel. If you are new to my content, welcome. I would appreciate you liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. So do I think that thin or pretty people have fewer problems? Well, not necessarily. Everyone's problems are fairly similar across the board in general, but the perspective and experience is very different. Pretty privilege or thin privilege is not about problems, it's about how other people perceive you based solely on your physical appearance. Like all forms of privilege, the person who has it may not even realize they have any advantage, simply because it is normal for them not to have to think about it. Most thin or average-sized people can eat in public without being stared at. They have no need to be concerned about the size of a movie theater chair. They don't panic at the thought of a coach airline seat and aren't concerned if they can find something in their size at a store. Even when you are able to find something that would fit, the styles are usually hideous and sometimes 2 times the cost. Being obese since I can remember, the anxiety that came from those experiences only made me eat more, making me more obese. And honestly, even talking about it now brings up a lot of feelings that I don't even like to remember. There have been many studies that have shown that even children see their thin peers as kinder, smarter, and friendlier. That may have to do with the media's portrayal of fat people in TV and film as being dysfunctional, irresponsible, lazy, or valuable only as the comic relief. These portrayals create something called unconscious bias. These unconscious biases are something that we all have, but as fully formed adults, we need to dig deeper into these biases and ask ourselves, why? We all want to be judged based on the content of our character, the quality of our work, or maybe some sort of special skill or talent. Nobody wants to be judged based only on their physical appearance, but this is the real world, and these biases exist, and they play a role in many aspects of our lives. When it comes to your career, there are just more and better opportunities for people who are considered traditionally good-looking. It's easier to be taken seriously in an interview, and because of that, your confidence is much better. When you're thin or in shape, it is automatically assumed that you are disciplined and that because you take care of yourself, you will be a much better employee. Being perceived in that way makes it much easier to not only get a job, but to make more pay, network with others for better opportunities, and so on. There's actually a thing called the halo effect, where conventionally attractive people are considered more social, mentally healthy, intelligent, more sexual, more confident, and so on. When an attractive person makes a mistake at their job, their mistakes are forgiven easier because they're held to a bit lower standard. When I was obese and considered unattractive, it was like for some people everything I did was annoying. Your presence alone can be annoying to a lot of people. When you are traditionally attractive, you get away with so much more. When you're obese, it's as if people expect you to fail anyway, so when you eventually do, it's made into a much bigger deal. It's like they're saying, see, they really are just sloppy and lazy. You know, this pretty privilege does not only translate into more success at work, but it also has academic benefits for many of those same reasons. The perspective that I have now has been eye-opening, and I've learned so much about myself and others. I have been able to see and feel the shift in how people treat me. I also know that a lot of the change has to do with how I view myself. I do dress nicer, mostly because I have more clothing options available to me, and I am more confident. But in the same regard, I also feel that people expect something different from me or expect me to be different than what I actually am. In actuality, I'm very shy, can be awkward, I get social anxiety, so I'm still the same shy fat guy that prefers to hide in the back in most social situations. I think that a lot of obese people have people-pleasing tendencies, and I am no different. So I feel that I need to live up to others' expectations of me. And if I don't or can't, I feel that I am letting that person down in some way. Being obese at a young age and also through my crucial development years, it shaped my identity and made me that people pleaser. I try not to be, but it is my default, so it's really hard for me to disappoint people, and I feel like I do that often. Sometimes I feel like a bother, so I do a lot of things alone, and if I don't do something perfectly or know that I can't do it perfectly, I either don't want to do it or get extremely disappointed with myself. I think we've all seen that movie that has a transformation story. The ugly duckling who ends up becoming the beautiful swan, the fat person that comes back to their hometown as now the hot person seeking revenge. The reality has not been anything like that for me. I don't have anyone to get revenge against, unfortunately, so I guess things have been kind of boring. Besides, I always thought the best revenge was just not caring about getting revenge on other people. I'm just too busy living my life to plot any type of revenge, but I do enjoy seeing people that I haven't seen in a long time and seeing their reaction.
Oh my gosh, let's grab the Panador. Shut the fuck up! Ow! Oh my god!
Yes, of course.
We surprised you.
How are you?
We didn't even recognize you. Right?
Thank you.
I love it. Oh, it's the best.
Now that I have experienced both sides, would I change it? Hell no. But it can be a double-edged sword. Yeah, I lost the weight and I'm in pretty good shape now, but I'm also aging. So now that I'm getting older, I feel the pressure to age well. I guess it's more that I feel that I have had a taste of what that privilege is like, and I don't want to let it go. But another part is that I know ageism is a real thing, and I don't want to lose out on opportunities simply because of another person's biases. You may be surprised to know that I'm actually glad that I never experienced that type of privilege until I was older in age. I love that I've been able to experience both sides and know what it felt like on both sides. It has allowed me to see things from two completely different perspectives, and I feel that it has made me a much more empathetic and understanding person. But then again, it's really easy for it to become a part of your identity, and I do feel like I have to work extra hard to keep it up. This can be a good thing because it does help motivate me to work out and eat right, but I'm also way too concerned about looking youthful, and I never gave that a thought about skin texture and firmness and wrinkles and so on in the past, but because I'm treated differently than I was before, I like it and I know it's helpful and I want to keep it as long as I can. And the fact that I even admitted that on camera is embarrassing, but it's the truth. And it's a shame that any of us have to fear aging, putting on a few pounds, or anything else regarding our physical appearance. The culture that we are in now is actually quite sad, and I'm afraid of where we're going as a society in the next 50 years. I've never been the type to have a vivid imagination, so I don't romanticize things or try to spin things in a positive way just to make me feel better. I only want to know the truth, so I don't put much thought into feelings. feelings to me just never ranked highly. I'm not a glass half empty or half full person. I'm more like there is 53% of the water left in the glass type of person. I want to know the facts, not the feelings. So because of that, I'm really realistic, and I know that if I don't push myself to keep up, I'll be left behind. I'm not wealthy. I don't have generational wealth or know that I'm going to get some type of financial windfall via an inheritance. I don't have a family name to fall back on, an Ivy League education. So I feel pressure to stay youthful and as attractive as I can be, just so I'm able to keep some doors open. I don't want to forget to mention this also, but there's a flip side to it as well, and that is, fat people can be judgy as hell too. I don't go around telling everyone that I used to be 400 pounds, so people just assume that I have no idea what they feel, I don't struggle with my weight, that I don't have body image issues, etc. I went up with some friends a while back, and I was, sipping on my drink, away from the crowd of people like usual, in the back, and some bigger guy came up to me and he was like, why are you hanging out away from everybody? And I was like, I'm not really into being in crowds because it makes me feel self-conscious. And he looked at me like I had two heads and was like, if I look like you, I would be over there talking to everyone. And my immediate reaction was to turn red, and I'm doing that now, but I was embarrassed. But I said, what do you mean look like me? And he was like, come on, man, look at you. And I'm like, making me even more red. And, so I told him my life story, after I had a few drinks in me. And, at the end, he was like, he was inspired to work out and that he was surprised I was like a normal person and not an asshole. And that interaction is a big part of why I even created this channel. It's weird because I never think of myself as an attractive person, and I pick apart myself constantly and think about what I would change and never about what I like about myself. And if I'm being honest, in my opinion, I feel my features are a bit cartoonish looking. Basically, I wouldn't pick it if I had my choice. I'd probably choose something more like this. Or this. Something more chiseled and more defined looking. So I read a study from Chapman University that stated 84% of female participants and 92% of male participants picked good looking as an essential quality for a long-term partner. Personality played a role, but it did not rank nearly as high as a person's physical attractiveness. Maybe I'm naive, but I was actually surprised that the numbers were that high. I absolutely expected it to be more than 50%, but I didn't expect 92%. Now, I think we would all be living under a rock if we didn't know that human beings are simply wired to be attracted to pretty things. When we go to buy a car, we want something that we find attractive. The color may catch your eye, or the shape of the car itself may attract you to it. When we buy a home, we get something that is the nicest thing our budget allows, or we'll find a way to make it nice. The furniture that you put into that house, the dining room set, the wreath you hang on their front door, all of those things were picked because you thought they were attractive. I don't think I personally have ever known anybody, buying furniture for their home or a car that placed function and build quality over attractiveness. You may want those qualities as well, but attractiveness is at the top of the list. When I was single, I never held it against anyone if they didn't find me attractive when I was obese, and I wouldn't care if they find me attractive with how I look now. I judge people strictly for how they treat me, and that's how I like being judged as well. That comes from not prioritizing my feelings. How people treat you is factual, and that is who they are. I myself am attracted to all types, but I also know how unhealthy being obese is, so I can understand that for that factor alone, it can make obese people less attractive to some others. I'm not going to get into the fetishizing of obese people, because that's a whole other topic for another day, but you don't want that from a potential love interest either. Social media has exacerbated, the comparisons to others, like drastically in the last decade alone, and that can be detrimental to a lot of people's mental health. Even if you know that an attractive person on Instagram has been, filtered and surgically enhanced, well lit, and so on, you can still see by the response that they get to their photos that it is what people want and what people are attracted to. You can't help but compare yourself to these people, and it may leave some feeling inferior or shameful of their own looks and bodies. I feel that personally as well. I lost almost 200 pounds, and although I had plastic surgery, and I'll be discussing that in another video, but you can't remove all of the damage from being obese. I still have stretch marks all over my torso, and it makes it look like I was attacked by Freddy Krueger while I was sleeping. I don't know if they even have a treatment to get rid of them, but I don't care enough about them to even Google it. I also don't think that anyone should promote obesity as being good or be under any type of illusion that it is healthy. But the vast majority of people who are obese know that being obese is not healthy. Constant reminders do not help. I do think that with any movement, there are people who push it off the rails, and the body positivity movement has its fair share of people pushing things that are just as dangerous and unhealthy as people who push insane diet and exercise practices. I don't feel that these people are in the majority. They are just the most vocal. And unfortunately, being vocal has gotten them large fan bases where they can spread some pretty dangerous ideas and claims that aren't based on any type of science or even reality in a lot of cases. But I also know that we shouldn't ever make anyone feel bad for their weight or appearance. If you can't support somebody in a positive way, just keep your opinion to yourself. Your opinion is not helpful, and it will only make their situation worse. There are enough things out there making us feel bad about ourselves on a daily basis. So we as a community should be focusing on motivating and supporting each other, because shaming does not work, and encouraging unhealthy habits is just as dangerous. So is attractiveness completely unearned and solely based on winning some sort of genetic lottery? No, not necessarily. There are many things that go into attractiveness. Your hairstyle, facial hair, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, your attitude, the way you smell, the being well-groomed, well-spoken, and so on. That's all a part of attractiveness. You might have great features but are poorly groomed, or you could be very average but know how to set yourself apart from others because you have a cool sense of style. You could have an amazing face but a terrible attitude. I never had any sense of style when I was heavy. I never liked anything that was my size, to even create a style, so I have a lot of fun trying new things now. I change my look around constantly and go from having hair to shaving my head to having a long beard and a short one, spray tans, eye drops that make the whites of your eyes whiter and the color pop. I'll dye my beard and then let it go natural. Eyebrows, eyelashes, shape my eyebrows, whiten my teeth, so on. I just don't think anything happens, without work. At the end of the day, people are people, and we should all make the best effort that we can each day to treat everyone with the same dignity, regardless of how attractive we think they are. We should focus on who that person is, because the studies do not show that attractive people or pretty people are better workers, better citizens, or better people. The studies only show that people assume that they are. Leave your comments below and let me know what you think and what your experiences have been. Thank you for watching.